How you doing? Look at your hand. As you look at your hand, begin to notice the shifting changes and patterns and colors as that hand begins to get lighter and lighter, and your eyes start to become heavier and heavier. All the way down, deep sleep, all the way down, perfect. Eric, you're relaxing more and more and more, deeper and deeper with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. And as you continue to listen to the sound of my voice, your feet will remain strong beneath you as you continue to go deeper and deeper. And now, as you've been sitting for the past week in our audience, going through various processes, seeing me work with different people, you've heard me give suggestions, and you've received lots and lots of suggestions. And you know what those are. And now, as you continue to breathe and your heart continues to beat, all of those suggestions, all of those commands, all of the wonderful sensations and interventions and processes you've been to are now becoming 1,000 times stronger, more powerful, more pervasive for you. You're going to feel 10 times better, 1,000,000 times more functional, happy and playful than ever before. You're going to look forward to interacting with people in a way that allows you to feel good about who you are. And the more you interact, the better you feel. And the better you feel, the more you interact, until life just gets better and better and better, by your standards, by your definitions. Now, in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 5. When I reach the number 5, you'll emerge from this state, bring all of these good feelings, all of the truth of this statement with you, able to use these skills better, more powerfully, and more true to your own sense of personal ethics than ever before. 1, 2, 3. Always at least 3 ways to overcome any situation, obstacle, or circumstance that you may face. Always at least 3 solutions to any problem. 4. Because you've done the work. You've made the investment. You deserve the rewards, Eric. And it's true for you now. On the next count, you can open your eyes, feeling 1,000,000 times better. Feeling like you've had an 8-hour nap, a 9-hour massage, able to hypnotize people confidently, powerfully, for all the right reasons. And you know what those are. Number 5. Take your own time. Come on back.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's walk through this. Remember that the human beings run on programs. You can relax that.
No, it goes out and relax still.
Okay. So when you go, a handshake is a hypnotically programmed social thing. Okay. People can't not do it. Anytime you interrupt a motor program before it can complete, the mind goes into confusion. Therefore, once you've done this, you're at the exact same state that we are with any rapid induction. Sudden loss of physical, mental, or emotional equilibrium, sudden command. Right? So as he comes here, I intercept this, and I puff up, I move his eyes to where I want him to look. I have him focus his attention on the palms and the things in the palm that I want him to pay attention to as I continue to talk. Now from here, I'm monitoring what his arm is doing. If it's stiff, I may go into an arm levitation where the hand just starts to hold itself up. Right? I may allow that hand to descend only at the rate and speed that his eyes can close, and he can go 10 times more deeply into trance. I could just open your eyes again. I could also go, watch your fingers here, watch your hand. Notice the shifting and changing of your palm, the shifting focus as it moves in and out, and sleep, deep sleep all the way down, deeper and deeper with every breath. That's the one I like to use. 1, 2, 3, eyes open, wide awake, 10 times better than ever before. Good. So the whole idea here is you catch him before he can complete the program and direct his attention where you want it to go. If he's already touched, so if I'm already here, it's too late. The idea is, how seamless can I make the catch? So one of the things I like to do, we do this in Sistema. He goes to shake my hand. See how he's trying to follow it. If I just stay just out of reach, he wants to follow the hand. Now I can bring it right up and he'll follow it. But as I'm doing this, I bring this hand and now he's here. So it's very casual. The idea is to, here's the secret to this that a lot of people don't tell you. I want to match the speed he's moving. I want to match the speed. Now one of the things Brian will do is as he goes to shake the hand, he'll grab the thumb, which I don't like. I like to just come up. I like to have them look here, and I use this as a distract the baby technique. So while they're playing with this, all of a sudden the head comes out of nowhere, and I'd put them into the trance. Okay? So that's the mechanics of a handshake induction. Do you have any variants you want to share, Saul?
I'm going to say one thing I've noticed with how you're doing it. One of the problems that can happen if you grab in at the wrist or even the hand, the person tends to about 50% of people curl their fingers over.
Right on.
Well, I was watching with you put your thumb on the back of the hand, and I think that would actually probably open it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like when you do that, because my reaction is to come out of it.
Yeah.
You get different reactions to different people. You can do it as a slow eye fixation. That often works quite well. One of the things, and there's a couple of tricks just to
You want to demo it? Because I have a lot of variations, but I don't do this on the street very often. So
I haven't done it for ages, but
come on up. Come on up. Anybody want to be his demo puppy?
How you initially get people teaching you to do it as a slow eye fixation project way. So you come up, and as you can see, I've got the elbow. So look at your hand, look at the lines of the hand, look at one point. Just notice changing focus of your eyes as your hand comes towards your face. You can just sleep all the way down, drifting, floating, dreaming down. Come back now. Now, great. What I was going to say with this, you've got to, you can, as you said, the floppy arm, but it doesn't mean the person's going to go in, because it's the fixation. But yeah, the movement in and out is definitely very important. You can even surprise them with the other hand coming across.
Right on.
Definitely a quick. If you've got the fingers like this, because this is sometimes a problem, become totally absorbed from that fingertip as it comes towards your eyes, and just let your eyes get. There you go. Oh, nice one. That was nice. Floating, dreaming there. The thing is, I'm cutting out steps, but the thing is, I'm watching where he's at.
Yeah.
And it's just timing it where you are. You can even. The other variations is it even just like that's it, just tap on the back. There he's gone already. Yeah. There's quite a nice one which is just give me your arm. That's right. That's right. Just give me your arm. Smile. That's it. That's it. Just give me it. There you go. Just focus. That's it. We're going to get long. Lighter. Drifting up. Drifting up. That's it. All the way. Take yourself deeper and deeper. All the way. All the way. That's it. Working and relaxing. As you come back. 1, 2, 3. Eric. How's your head? Looking good?
I'm there.
Good?
Cool.
Yeah, that's the ambiguous touch. But that's modification that, have you heard of a guy called Barry Thane? Probably not, he's an English guy. Yeah, that's actually quite useful, just to tap on the back, and then you can actually get a levitation very quickly just by doing a little push.
That's cool. I like that.
I might prop the elbow though.
Do you do these mostly on the street or
anywhere? It's anywhere, but I do like the eye crosses because that can you can bring the hand. When I do sort of my because the first one I did was sort of anti-Jacqueline, where he teaches a very slow look at the hand, look at the lines on your hand, look at one point, so he brings it in. He will talk the hand in maybe with there's a magnetic attraction between the hand and the head, but you've already started to sort of push it in. He might even little tricks with it is like push on the tap the shoulder just to get a little bit of contraction in the muscles. He'll do exactly what you said about either using the levitation, attraction, or drop. Utilize.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to think. But I actually prefer bringing the hand up and back out.
Across the eyes and then back out.
So then I probably will slam straight in with that because it's just...
Yeah. The minute you got eye fixation, it's just easy to hit him. A roar in the west, attack in the east.
Yeah. Or even if you're doing it with hypnotists, surprise. So that as the hand comes up, as it's sleep all the way down, drifting, floating, dreaming down. I usually would do that a little bit differently because I was looking at you when I did that. But engage. I'm actually not turning my body in, which obviously I would, and I'll come around. I'll get into the experience with the person. If the hand's coming towards them, I'll be there looking at it. And you can build. One reason why it's quite good when you're doing. Come back here. Nice and fresh. There you go. One thing that's really good if you're doing hypnosis out with friends, street, anything. I've done loads of different inductions. A handshake is one thing. This is a weird position to have someone in. You've got control over them. Especially if you keep the hand there, and everybody else looking on, stuff's happening. So it's quite interesting. It's quite convincing.
This good for parties?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Well, because one of the things that's going to happen is a lot of people, they want to be more successful in their dating life, which means by definition you need to be more successful in your social life. Unless you're going to spend all your time crawling matchmaker.com or something like that.
No, it's not good.
Yeah. One of the coolest ways to become the attention center is to put on little hypnosis demos at social gatherings or hanging out with friends. And this is these particular inductions are very showy, but they're not so ostentatious that they're going to shock the masses. And when people see how just quickly you can do that, and then you can go into all kinds of phenomena,
Very nice.
it's very easy to position yourself as a status figure, a status person within the dynamic. So there's a lot of social opportunities that you can do. Remember, the population as a whole is polarized between terrified fascination with hypnosis and lustful fascination with hypnosis. Right? They're both fascinated, but one is just going to be they're fascinated, but they want to watch. They don't want to be part of it. The other part is they want to experience it. So these kinds of inductions are actually a little bit more user-friendly than shock inductions where you're going to slam them into trance.
Unless you've done expectation on the person, tell them what's going to happen to a certain extent. I don't say everything. Mm-hmm. You'll get a lot of people bounce out on those, especially because when you haven't. It's one of the things with doing impromptu hypnosis. You do a very quick pre-talk. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of doing less than. I want to give. I'm quick. Mm-hmm. My pre-talk. The little secret to it is hypnotic. So I've slammed them there. I slammed them on a couple of other things. Each and every single time is a fractionation.
Right on.
So by the time they've got an induction that looks like an induction, they're
already there.
They're there. That's probably why I end up getting very deep phenomena extensive phenomena quickly when I'm doing this stuff.
You can use the word deep. I'm not going to yell.
Yeah, I don't look at it as deep. It's intent, absorption. That's exactly how I look at it. So it's you've got to manage your environment. That's another thing with when you're doing all this sort of stuff. Just making sure you will get floppers occasionally. So I don't tend to yell sleep too loudly because I found the louder you do it, especially if they've seen other people being hypnotized before, which is expectancy, mirror, whatever you want to go.
Right.
It's the suggestibility tests. Learn them. Mm-hmm. You can do them in, out, induction, non-induction. Great stuff.
Cool. Thank you. Give me a round of applause. So, again, remember, everything is a tool. Everything has multiple uses. It's best not to use a hammer to drive in a screw. But by the same token, if all you've got is a butter knife and the screw needs to be put in, it can work, right? So try to apply the tool to the right job. The handshake induction is a non-threatening, very cool way of demonstrating hypnotic power without shocking and scaring people or getting a potential assault charge, So, and it's one that everybody's programmed for it. You just got to have a timing aspect down. That make sense? So why don't you take 10, 15 minutes and just practice variations of the handshake. Program people for good stuff, good feelings. Because remember, first time anybody's time that you give somebody a first experience of hypnosis, it should be pleasure. Because the behavior that gets rewarded gets repeated. Go. It's polarity.
Yeah.
It's not up here usually. Well, sometimes you can feel it up here, but it's generated down here. It's because you're approaching something that's unfamiliar, and the unfamiliar is potentially threatening. And you're not thinking, you're remembering. You're approaching a situation that's potentially either it's familiar or unfamiliar, but your unconscious mind is sorting back through all the similar episodes that you've had, and it's drawing up all the experiences related to it. And it's either going to move you towards or away from the discomfort in some way. You have to exercise volition and state control and make a decision to do what is counterintuitive, which is usually engage in the interaction. Okay? There's an old Chinese proverb The urge to give up on something or to quit is strongest just before you're about to succeed. And I found that to be true enough to be true. The urge to run away is right before you make the approach, is strongest. The urge to interact, or the fear, the desire to move away from the interaction, is strongest just before you actually break the hymen and make the interaction. Okay? This is why the first 3 approaches you ever make are throwaways. They're just to get you through the discomfort, to get your inertia going. Okay? I think a lot of people seek out hypnosis because socially they're kind of awkward, and they're looking for ways to be less awkward. And they're looking for certain scenarios and environments where they can be in control and feel safe. I know I did. You'll find the majority of the times I'm interacting with people, I'm controlling the environment. The fact that I'm aware of it makes me a little bit more functional. But you'll see this. You'll see people who, when they're running a class or a lecture or in their office or their clinic, they're dynamic, they're authoritative, they're certain. You get them outside the clinic, they can't balance their fucking checkbook. Because the identities that they're used to, where they feel comfortable, where they feel in control, are context dependent. Everything is context dependent. Your body's sending you signals that are both comfortable and uncomfortable. The problem is we've been misinterpreting them. We've interpreted the discomfortable things as things we should run away from, and the pleasurable things as things we should move towards. Well, the truth is, by and large, the uncomfortable things are also things we should be running towards. Because as we do, we learn. I've had horrible experiences with women. Probably worse than most of the people in this room. Horrible experiences. Okay? I was tremendously mistreated by the women I was trying to relate to. Mostly because I didn't have the social skills, I had an extremely nervous system, and I really wasn't that attractive growing up. Okay, I was the stinky kid. Well, I wasn't stinky, but I was pretty greasy. Okay, I was overweight, I was out of shape, I wore glasses. Okay, pretty much every social stigma short of body odor that you could imagine, I had. I wasn't physically fit. I certainly wasn't physically skilled. I was into comic books, role-playing games. You know, not tremendously, and honestly, I really didn't have a lot of sensory acuity. I came from a rough place. I had to make a decision to be uncomfortable. I decided I was going to get this shit handled. And I bought book after book, and I just kept getting back on the horse. And I learned shit. And I fucked up a lot. But every time I fucked up, I learned something. The worst thing that can happen to people many times is they have a tremendous success right off the bat. Sometimes it's the best thing. But the bottom line is nothing works 100% of the time, and the universe will keep letting you make the same mistake over and over and over again and getting the same result over and over again until you figure out what it is you need to do different. Usually that involves actually doing something in the first place, which most people won't. They'll read a book, they'll buy a course, all right, and even they'll attend seminar after seminar. But in their real life, they'll only go so far, or they'll only give it 1 or 2 shots, and if they don't meet with tremendous success in any way right off the bat, they give up. They give up. They look for the next new thing. Everything I'm teaching you guys, I spent years and years and years putting together in such a way that worked for me. And then I had to figure out, once I decided that I was actually going to share this stuff, how to make it translatable. So it works. The question is, are you working? Are you putting it into operation? Okay? It doesn't mean you're going to be 100% successful right off. Hell, it doesn't mean you'll be any percent successful right off the bat. But as long as you keep taking it one step at a time and you keep putting it out there, and you avoid sometimes hyper-analyzing, becoming too analytical, overthinking what's going on, you're going to be, it's just inevitable. Take the time constraints off. Failure is only calibratable when you apply a time frame to the process. Now, there are certain activities, certain things that we do in life that need a time frame. But in terms of personal growth, personal development, take them off. Take them off. By and large, they're not useful. The fastest progress I make is when I stop trying to meet a deadline. When I just allow myself to enjoy the process. Does that make sense? I mean, maybe I'm on my pedestal, but I just find that the secret is just lighten the fuck up. Enjoy the ride. Find ways to enjoy the ride. And remember, you are what you bring to the interaction, to that person. When people look at you, do you know what they want to see? Them. They want to see themselves. So let those parts of you that are like them shine through. And when you can do that and be okay with it, you're going to have a lot more fun, and you're going to get a lot of responses that you weren't getting before. That's about all I have to say about that. Yes, sir.
Well, if no one else has something they'd like to go, then we brought up at lunch the shadow self. And also, along the lines of that is, it's perceived as bad, some of the things, but mainly because they might have other consequences. You do one thing that it might make other things more complicated.
Sure.
So how do you address or mitigate or whatever?
Okay, I'm going to need a little bit more of a specific context for you.
One thing could be, like right now I'm setting money to move back out again.
Okay.
And that's, extremely likely. But I also want to make another purchase that would conflict with that.
Okay.
So
Which do you want more?
Huh?
Which do you want more?
Both.
No, that's not what I asked.
Oh, then moving out.
Then that's what you should go for.
But that maintains staying the same.
Does it?
Yes.
Or is it just delay other gratifications?
Well, delay can be indefinite, so.
Well, delay, an indefinite delay is really up to you, isn't it? Not always?
Okay, but even such. So, my main thing comes back to, what do you want more? Okay, that's also, which is more of the responsible decision.
No.
Yes.
Which do you want more? Because here's the thing. Here's another thing I've noticed with people. And I'm using people as a loose term. When people have to make a decision between two things they really, really want, they tend to think in terms of, I don't know how exactly to put this. They tend to think that they're not going to experience pain by making the decision for the thing they want more, because they want them both. They tend to think that, well, if this is the right decision, I shouldn't feel regret or pain or loss for choosing something that's not the priority. And that's not true. It's like when you love two people. Well, I don't know if you guys have ever been in that situation. You care about two people, but you know one is the right person and the other's not. And for some reason, people think, especially people who are like bystanders, they think, well, the choice is obvious. Just go for the thing that you know is the right thing and is going to make you happy in the long run, and do it. And they disregard the fact that there's pain associated with letting that other thing go. And so we try very hard to have our cake and eat it too. In economic terms, it's called opportunity cost, right? But it's a very real pain. And we tend to think that if we let that go this time, that opportunity will never come again. That's usually really untrue. There will always be a new opportunity. It may not be the exact same thing, but it may be more appropriate and more accessible when it comes. Okay? Now, I'm one of those guys that if they're really, really close, I'm likely to roll the dice and go for both. Because I have a lot more faith in universal principles than most people. I know if I create the debt, if I create the vacuum, and I move forward, determined, certain, no matter what, the money will manifest, or the resources will manifest. But that's a leap for most people. It's one you heard me talk about many times when I talk about investing in some of my higher. Well, I usually use it divorced from my particular investing in my programs, but investing in yourself in general. As a rule, the more discomfort you feel in the investment process, the more likely A, it is to be good for you, and B, the more quickly you're likely to recoup the investment. Because when you go through that discomfort phase, it causes your self-esteem and self-image to change. You start saying, I deserve this. And in the process of going into overdrive to recoup or fill in the void you've just created, you become something more than you thought you were. Your self-esteem, your self-worth, your deservingness, and your sense of capabilities increase. The discomfort is you approaching the limits of your model and willingness to go to the next level. Remember, every expansion of self-esteem has some level of discomfort. You can't grow any other way. Remember, I said the unconscious mind is only influenced through what it perceives as effort, right? Intense emotional impact or repetition, right? Well, it's just no different. If there's something that you want, like now, I use the primary example I use was when I was introduced to Lisa Sasovich's mentoring program. I've told some of you guys about this. Okay, her demographic is dramatically opposite of mine. It's 90% women. Okay, in a mastermind of 400 women, there were 6 men, of which I was the most alpha. And anyway, had a ball in that group, by the way. But 2 things happened. First of all, she brought some of the people on stage, started talking about the success stories, and one woman came up and said, I didn't have the money, I invested, took out huge advance on or a loan or something, and I did this, and 3 months later I made it all back and more. And the minute she said that, he says, I want to do that. So I don't know how, I don't know why, I'm scared to death, but that's what I want to do. I want to invest a huge amount of money and demonstrate I want to prove that I can do that. I've never told anybody that part. So you know what I did? I brought my wife to the next one. Because I was like, there's usually about 3 to 6 months between each of her events. She runs them like every 4 months or something like that. She has a different event. And I had a bonus ticket for the next one. So I brought my wife because I thought this would be a really cool role model for her. And I thought, well, I don't want to do it without her. First cop out. Okay? But I do know this, just a little sidebar. If you engage in some kind of self-growth process, do your best to get your significant other involved too. Saw this a lot in Reiki, where the wife took a Reiki class or the husband took a Reiki class and the wife didn't. Vibrations changed, the relationship ended. Because they're growing, but they're growing in different directions. So if you're going to do something energetically, which again, it's metaphysical, but it's also, it goes back to behaviors and all that other good stuff. People stay with what's the same. They move away from what's different. They're attracted initially to what's different. But if there's not enough commonality there for them to feel good about, they're gone. Anyway, so I brought my wife, and she got totally inspired. She drank the Kool-Aid before half the seminar was over. And then they handed out the applications, and I knew I was going to join. But I was more than willing to wait and see if she was going to do it with me. You know, I wanted her to kind of come up with it on her own. She decided she wanted to do it. So, but if she wasn't going to do it, I was pretty sure I was going to, but I would have had more second thoughts. So we both joined, right? And she had to work harder to get the money than I did, because I had a Visa with a huge credit limit, but I maxed it. I got a huge cash advance on my Visa, wrote a check, and she had a line of credit or something. And the minute I wrote the check, my CPI training took off. My second CPI, my week-long CPI training or whatever. It was one of the CPIs that I had. I think it was one of the 2 of the 6-week ones. Enrollment, boom. There was half of the money right there. Right? 2 weeks later, David Shade launched his erotic hypnosis training. I was his top affiliate. There went the other half. Less than 3 months, $18,000 back. Couldn't have planned it. But something magical happens. Remember, we live in an interactive universe. All the human being is a set of filters. Those filters are beliefs. Beliefs are filters. When you move in the counterintuitive direction, when you understand universal principles, things become predictable even though you don't know how it's going to happen. We can't see all the connections. People think that everything is random. I disagree. I disagree with every fiber of my being. My belief is everything is so fundamentally interconnected it has the appearance of being random. And that's very comforting. Because that means that there's something running the show. There's a structure. There's a science. There's a mind. There's a system. Use it. Learn it. Does that make sense? 3 months later, $18,000, actually a little bit more than $18,000. I was doing well prior to that, but I have never made less than 120 or more since. And my life has continued to get better. We've reached out. That's when you guys started showing up. You guys weren't here during the early CPI phase. You came when I started stepping things up. But how did I step things up? That was the major turning point. And I'll tell you, I was stressed. I was scared shitless. I had never incurred that much debt that quickly ever. You know, I incurred about $100,000 in debt over the course of 3 years going to acupuncture school. But, $18,000 at 13 or 14%, not cool. Okay? With no return, no guarantee that anything was going to happen. That will cause you to grow. Okay? That's a 100% true story. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. It only stops when you do. You are the ultimate variable in the process. If you are determined to go forward, no matter what, the universe bows to the will of a determined mind. You will find a way, and the universe will respond to you. Did that answer your question?
Not really.
Okay. But restate your question then.
Well, no, maybe the beginning part did. It was basically, I don't remember. You said something, so I know I asked about, but you said basically just do whatever you want more anyway.
Well, what I'm basically saying is, when you interact with somebody and they start talking about something that you're not interested in, and you have that push away feeling, it's like I'm just not interested in that, right? That's a polarity response. It's a signal for you to do something other than what your instincts are telling you, which is usually shut down, move on, right? Get out of that conversation. Flip it. Say, oh wait, I'm not really interested in what they're saying. How can I become interested? How can I get curious about this person and enjoy it? Remember, your mind answers the kind of questions that you ask, right? When you can do that, you're going to start enjoying yourself more, and the people you're interacting with are going to feel heard, understood. Have you seen me? You've been here when I've talked about the studies they did about the phone conversations, about who they're looking at versus the other person on the other. What do you think you're doing?
What do you mean?
When you're talking to someone and you're forming an opinion of them as not being interesting, as not being somebody you want to talk to, as not being you want to interact with, what do you think you're telling them about you?
No, that's after speaking at them at length.
Yeah, but you're forming an opinion, right? You're creating this idea or this concept of them, right? Mm-hmm. Based on what they're saying. What if you just arbitrarily chose to think of them as interesting, attractive, and really cool to be around? What do you think would happen to how they thought about you?
I don't agree on that point.
You don't have to. The science says otherwise. Yeah, I'll send you the information. It's science.
You're saying, well, so yeah, be interested in them, and they'll be interested in you, type thing.
What I'm saying is you're telling the people you're interacting with how to perceive you by the thoughts and the concept you create about them inside your head. That might be the one key factor that flips the whole equation for you. Remember, if I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, this motherfucker is the most idiotic son of a bitch I've ever seen, and I'm starting to think about, how can I get out of here? How can I extricate myself from this person? Right? Whether that person has any level of sensory... One of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to sense that you're trying to withdraw and the reptile chases what runs away, or they're going to start feeling towards you like, this person's not cool. This person doesn't like me. I'm not being heard. Right? But they're not going to say that to you. They're just going to start doing this shit. Why? Because their mirror neurons are giving them an aversive response to you. They don't know that feeling is coming from you. They certainly don't know that you're generating it. But they do know that they're looking at you when they feel it. They don't even know why they feel it. But they do. And they assume that it's because of you. It's cyclical. You don't have to believe me. This is what science has proven. Science has done stupid fucking tests to show this stuff. Many times, but can I share something about Seth? Seth and I think it was John were working on something. People are constantly perceiving him as weird, and he finds that annoying. Okay, but he likes himself. He likes who he is. He doesn't like, and we had him try on other personas of people who didn't get that response. He didn't like it. They were boring. So, what did we do? How do we fix that? Well, A, it's okay for him to like himself. You should. So we changed how he feels when people tell him he's weird. Right? He said, how would you want to feel? And that was just part of the issue, but how would you rather feel instead? And we gave him that feeling. So he's more resourceful when those people do things. And trust me, everybody here is socially awkward in some way. But we tend to think that because it's inside of us, that nobody else has that problem. That nobody else feels the way we feel. That we're somehow alone in the world. Well, we're all alone in this together. Okay? But honestly, I'm not denigrating your situation at all. I've been where you are. I didn't have the science. If I know now that one fucking scientific experiment, if I'd known that, I'd had pictures of fucking hot women strapped all over the place. I didn't tell you guys that. But the pictures on your wall when you're interacting with people will influence the way you talk to people who aren't on the phone with you, or who are on the phone with you that aren't those people. It's called object relations theory. If you put pictures of your heroes on the wall, you will perform better in other contexts than if you just have boring shit on your walls. If you're on a sales call and you're looking at a picture of a hot woman, you will be more persuasive and sell more than if you have a picture of, your mother. Huh? Yeah. But that's the other aspect of object relations theory. The environment around you is going to impact your mental state. It's going to ripple through the magic mirror, and it's going to influence your results with other people. These are all things that you can add or to subtract from your environment. Okay? Believe me or not, I want you to believe me. I want you to take action and utilize this stuff. But honestly, it's your life. Do what you want or not. It's your choice. But but why might you want to do that? Why might you want to take action on the things I'm explaining? On a scale of 0 to 10, how badly do you? Right? But okay? Each and every one of you has more than enough go for it and stick to it-ness and intelligence to make this shit work. Just take the time frame off of it. We all learn at different speeds. We all assimilate things differently. Sometimes our expectations are out of proportion until you take the time frame off. Remember, most baseball games, most football games are not run with 100-yard passes or, home runs. They're run with base hits, fly ball, bunts, lucky circumstances, which have nothing to do with luck at all. Just relax. Stop taking yourself so seriously, because you're the only one who is. And enjoy the ride. Find ways to enjoy your life and enjoy the process. Because if you're not having fun, nobody you're going to be interacting with is. I had to find ways to learn to enjoy this stuff. Being out there and finding, even just going through the motions of being interested in people. Because if you go through the motions enough, it'll start to engage. Right? What was your other question? You said you had two. The other was about shadow self.
Yeah, but that's what I already asked.
Yeah, you already asked it, but we didn't answer it.
No, that goes along with what I said for, a decision of two choices. One negates the other. Or something.
Oh yeah. Well, again, so you want to move out? You want to buy something? Is that?
Well, that's just You said.
Well, how does that relate to what you think of as the shadow self?
Don't worry about it.
Well, how can I answer your question if I don't worry about it?
Don't worry about it. It's mainly a choice of doing the responsible thing versus a less responsible thing.
How mutually exclusive are they?
Well, let's use an example like dating coworkers.
Are you willing to accept the ramifications of doing it?
Well, I'm not, but I want to be.
But what's stopping you from wanting to be?
The complications of potentially losing the job, etc.
Right.
So
you're more afraid of the negative outcomes than you are the positive.
I'm afraid of the negative outcomes because I don't know how to operate in that scenario successfully.
So are you? So is that another? By inference, does that mean you have potential dating opportunities?
Yes. Okay,
so then actually there are people at work who are demonstrating attraction to you that you would consider dating.
Yes.
So then the conversation we had earlier where you say you're not calibrating people who are attracted to you is not quite accurate.
No. It's complicated.
Obviously. Maybe you're overcomplicating things.
True.
Okay, if you have look, most of the time you're going to wind up dating coworkers anyway, because those are the people we interact with all day long. You just got to be willing to deal with the ramifications of it. If you're not, then deal with
that's exactly what I'm saying. Is you got to be willing. How can I move towards that?
Decide to. Just make a decision and do it. Really. Just decide to it. Realize you're going to be uncomfortable and swim upstream. And just see what the fuck happens. And whatever happens, you're going to be okay. Instead of beating yourself up about things that haven't happened yet or may never happen, have the experience and then decide if it was worth it or not. Really. Have the experience and then decide if it was worth it or not. Don't decide the experience wasn't worth it before you fucking had it. You never know. I've done that many times. I don't think there's any worse pain than the pain of regret. I made a lot of fucking stupid mistakes, but I'd have never known they were stupid until I made them.
That's why I'm here. Also, the ramifications of what you want worse than the alternative. The alternative is not getting what you want.
True. You just say, look, never done this, don't know what's going to happen. This could happen, but then again, this could also happen. I'd do it. Just to see what would happen. And then have enough confidence and certainty in yourself that whatever happens, you'll deal with it. Most people aren't willing to make that leap. They're afraid. That's it. You're just afraid. That's all it ever comes down to. You're just afraid. And fears always appear larger in your head than they do in real life. Until you're on the other side of it. Even when the worst thing fucking happens. It's almost never as big a deal after the fact as it was in your head. At least that's been my experience. Your experience may vary. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and do stupid shit. I'm telling you, if you see something you want, and it has the potential to be good, and the potential to not be good, have enough confidence in yourself to move towards the things you want and accept the fact that they may not work out. Or stay stuck. God knows I do. I put it on the line every time I stand in front of this class. If you guys knew how many times I got up in front of this class and did shit I'd never done before, it would blow your minds. I do it every day. I wouldn't be able to stand up here with integrity and do the things I do and say the things I say if I wasn't willing to walk the talk. That's it. Okay? So, the truth of the matter is, politically correct speech aside, the vast majority of the people you're going to date are probably going to be coworkers and friends of coworkers.
They literally say that in studies.
Yeah.
The people that you're around the most, that you develop the most connection with.
It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's probably a good thing.
And it's probably drawing you more towards it and trying to avoid it.
The more, the thing is that, like, my wife was my doctor in medical school. Dawn, she was actually married when I met her. She was an intern. And I would go into the clinic to get my ribs stripped, which is about the only thing less painful than getting a proctology exam without lubricant.
Getting your ribs stripped?
Yeah. If you've ever had like myofascial or anybody here have ART? Okay. Imagine ART applied to your rib cage.
Not myofascial like myofascial release, just to clarify.
Yeah, okay. It's just not pleasant. But Dawn she also came to my martial arts class, so I knew her. And I was a very flirtatious guy in medical school. I played with everybody. And they actually yelled at Dawn because I was playful with her. Because you don't need to fraternize with the patient's this, the patient's that, and blah, blah, blah. said, who the fuck are they to tell me who I can and can't have as a doctor? I went nuts. It's just, no, don't say it, don't say anything. Because I was one of those guys. I'm a very angry guy. Much less angry than I am now. Huge amount of anger. By the way, anger is just fear in another form. That's all it is. Anger is a fear response. Don't make the news, just report it. I was pretty shocked when I heard that too, but basically, yeah. Anyway, but I still kept coming. She got, and I said, look, if you want me to say something, I will. But it doesn't get much more dangerous than that. Doctor-patient relationship, she could have lost a license, right? Some things just take their course. She was obviously willing to. Hey, we didn't really do much. We didn't cross any boundaries. But what I'm saying is, obviously, there was something there that was not going to go away. Because she did go away and came back. She graduated or something. Or no, she actually went off to do an externship, and she left martial arts club. And usually when people, they move on from a martial arts program, they're gone. You don't see them again. She came back. And, you just kind of follow those coincidences or whatever. The bottom line is that the people you're thrown in interaction with on a day-to-day basis are going to become more attractive to you, and you're going to become more attractive to them. It's the familiarity concept. It falls under the affinity principle. The more you see someone, the more attracted they become. Now that principle becomes leverageable if you're really good at hypnosis or 3 magic questions. But the bottom line is the vast majority of relationships are going to start as coworker relationships or something similar. That's the reality. It's not the politically correct one, but it is the true one. So you just have to make a decision. Is it worth it or not? Is it worth finding out? And trust that both of you have the maturity to deal with whatever happens. Because remember, it is the natural human condition to make other people responsible for the shit that happens to you. And vice versa. We don't want to be accountable. But that's where all the power is. Especially if you know hypnotic persuasion. And people know you know hypnotic persuasion. So don't tell anybody. Okay? Just be the person that makes people feel good. And by and large, they'll do the things you want them to do. Who else has got something before I send you off with the last 5 minutes? You guys had enough of me? This means yes, this means no. No?
Still need to get testimonials too.
Oh yeah, let's take the last 5-10 minutes and just, if you can just line up and just give us a really cool testimonial that makes me feel good about myself. No, actually, if you were actually going to tell like your best friend or someone who you really think could most use this training, talk to the camera as if you were talking to them. What is it that it's really going to do for them? What has it done for you? How are you going to use it? What's really important for those people to understand about what this can do? Does that make sense? I mean, you hear testimonials saying, oh, David's great, or this person's great. That's not what I really care about. Let people know how this is going to change their lives. That's what's going to help the most amount of people. Does that make sense? All right, I'm going to turn this whole process over to James. Hope you guys had a good time. I'm done. Thank you.